Most of us began our journey with an acceptance letter and a surge of excitement. You remember your algebra teacher, Larry, who said the best way to factor a trinomial was a quadratic formula. You believed in him only to hate him when all the coefficients on the test were fractions. You knew you wanted to become a math teacher because you survived the system, and so you did. And after years of putting in the work, you finally have a letter to a PhD program, and you were going to learn more things than you ever had before. Yet here you are, you just defended your dissertation, and you still need to revise it because you forget that the word data is plural. You look in the fridge, you see carrot sticks, generic brand Nutella, and wine, and luckily Walmart did the math for you, and yes, the box is the cheaper option. You swipe through Tinder, and like your fish oil supplements, you only get 2 a day because you've exhausted all the 30-something-year-olds in a 20-mile radius, and you have too much dignity to date young white gays with abs. You want to go back in time, back to that young person that could read 7 50-page articles a week. You were a new grad student enjoying Barack Obama's second term because America finally beat racism. But here you are, retching at the sight of a particular Word document all theoried out. You can't tell the difference anymore between a sign and a tool, or 3 levels of units, or 2 levels of units in activity. Why can't you remember the word data is plural? You have a doctor's appointment, where they'll finally tell you if you have cancer. Your #PH done, but your health is bad, you can't multitask, and you haven't seen your family in ages. It doesn't feel like something's done. You want to go back in time and tell yourself to take care of your health, breathe, take a break, keep updating your EndNote, and please remember the word data is plural. Good morning. I'd like to thank the local organizing committee for this much needed format. I've reflected on my experiences and I'm happy I was able to share a little slice with you. Further reflection and conversations with others made me notice something about a field I'm about to enter: messages. As new scholars, we get messages from our actions, like getting an email at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. Hearing someone call themselves an ist when you can barely identify with an ism. Determining your worth based on the number of lines on a CV. These messages constitute the standards we set for ourselves, and if we don't live up to these standards, we feel like an imposter. And I've been told, well, you never get rid of imposter syndrome. But when I hear this, I hear we're okay with imposter syndrome. But we shouldn't be okay with imposter syndrome. We shouldn't be okay with giving ourselves unreasonable standards. And most importantly, we shouldn't be okay with the mental health issues that come along with it. So how do we get rid of it? Well, we change our actions and thus we can change our messages. Perhaps we can start with how we talk and write about research. I've noticed we don't have a lot of publications and presentations that reveal our work. By revealing our work, I mean talking and writing about the messiness of research, warts and all. We like to say let's honor teachers and students' thinking, but how do we honor researchers' thinking? As I was preparing for this talk, the feedback I got was, well, how can we reveal our work? There's limited time and we have word counts. But we can make time and make space. There's a theory and method strand here at PMENA, yet 27 presentations this year are in the theory and methods and miscellaneous strand. Let's present accounts describing what we've done, including our struggles. We should submit proposals describing possibly analytic techniques that didn't work, parts of theory that cannot describe all of our data, and probably why something works out in theory but not in practice. As a newbie, I am very interested in how researchers think through all their work, including things that didn't work out. Experiencing how scholars stumble might create a new set of self-imposed standards, and we can move away from the standards gleaned from nicely packaged research reports. We can also start writing pieces that reveal our thinking. When was the last time our top-tier journals published a methodology piece? Why is writing about methods relegated to a special issue? Let's start writing about our process even as something as small as tagging a new idea. I've seen a lot of self-citations, but not a lot with a CF in front of it. Surely a written idea must have changed since 1997. These written accounts will provide early scholars to engage in other researchers' thinking, especially for the graduate student who cannot shell out the $800-something to attend a conference only to have a 30-minute chat with a researcher they've read. And that's assuming the graduate student feels empowered to talk to these scholars. But Eric, just volunteer for a research group. You can learn to do research there. But volunteering for a research group privileges the healthy, single graduate student who has extra time and money in a department with a critical mass of faculty, which I guess is every graduate student in every department ever. Writing about our ideas and misfires is an act of equity, that the field is providing mentorship to all graduate students, especially those who for any reason need to outsource some of their mentorship. But even with mentorship, we still cannot fully show up because there are still messages out there that silence our core identities. My good friend Lauren will talk about this one next. We know research is a messy process. Let's talk about it so that early scholars can see and read how others, especially senior scholars, deal with chaos. In turn, accounting for struggle is reflected in our self-imposed standards. Perhaps in letting imperfection be at the heart of doing research, there might no longer be imposters or the other stuff that comes along with it because everyone in this room screws up. We have the agency to start our ideas with both I found and I'm stuck. And we do this already. That's the whole point of us gathering here. We allow ourselves to be vulnerable and converse with our colleagues, hopefully to further our thinking. Let's take it a step further and amplify these conversations to the public sphere. So far, I've spoken about a few ideas, among others I've written in the Proceedings, to normalize messiness. I'd like to push our field a little more before I leave the podium. In a lot of ways, our world is shitty, and although academia is not a sanctuary, we can make academia a place where we can thrive. But we need to find other messages that have normalized the alarming levels of anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts in academia, particularly in graduate school. I open today with a small part of my experience, and in a lot of senses, I'm privileged to look back at them with levity. But there are still messages out there that are harmful. We cannot grow as a field if we do not look back at the path we have left in our wake in our quest to expand westward. There's a Filipino saying that captures this. Ang hindi marunong lumingon sa pinanggalingan ay hindi makakarating sa paroroonan. What other messages have we all been complicit with that have normalized graduate student stipends that are very close to the federal poverty level? The sizable debt incurred by graduate students. 30% of new PhDs in education with no definite commitment for employment. 1 in 10 female graduate students experiencing harassment. And listen, I'm aware it could be seen as young and naive for asking for too much. As was once written, younger people cannot bear being slighted. They are indignant if they imagine themselves treated unfairly. They have not yet been humbled by life and its limitations. They think they know everything and are sure about it. That's why they tend to overdo everything. So I understand how I might be positioned today. By the way, this was written by Aristotle in 350 BC. Groundbreaking. As some of you continue west, look back at the world shaped by complicitness with our messages in academia, because it is not funny when graduate students have to choose among sleep, money, a social life, and a career, but not all of them. It is not funny when the highlight of a graduate student's vacation is prioritizing analysis, even if they haven't seen their family in months because the airfare is too high. It is not funny when graduate students go to events simply because, quote, there will be pizza. There are more messages to unearth that do more harm than good. We need to listen to ourselves, problematize our messages, and let's make things better. And when we do, as the true winner of season 11 on RuPaul's Drag Race said, let's go big, let's be kind, and let's go west.